There's a lot of similarities between what we do in our business and the time that I spent as an officer in the Army Corps of Engineers. For me, it worked. I mean, I knew the military model intimately, and I was able to kind of incorporate that. I recognized that we needed to have kind of a decentralized organizational structure where I had capable leaders out in the field that were able to assess the situation and make snap decisions. Up here in Maine, when we're in a nor'easter and the snow's coming down at 3 inches an hour and it's dark and it might have been snowing for 24, 36 straight hours, it really has a lot of similarities to many of the training missions or real world experience that I've had in the military. People get tired. The risk of injury and accident goes up as you get further into the storm. There's a lot of uncertainty in terms of where you're going, if equipment's going to break down. And so for me to have a process to deal with all of this, it's really helped us to reduce accidents, reduce injury, and to provide an overall better customer experience for our clients. When I was in my second year of graduate school at MIT, I was super fortunate to have as a mentor Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE. And one of the things that really resonated with me that Jack Welch mentioned was when you get out there, he said that use this advice to kind of live by. He said, work your butt off, make your boss look good, and always be ready to leave. And at the time I thought, man, that's kind of weird, what about loyalty and this and that? But his point was that, you do your part and then it's on the company to retain good talent. So some of the things we've done here at Seabreeze was we created Seabreeze Management School. That is a 18-week program of instruction. It's 54 hours where we teach them everything from marketing, how to sell, how to do a risk assessment, how to manage employees. We teach them a little bit about Lean and Six Sigma. As people kind of get more and more senior in their roles, we'll send them out to schooling. We have even worked with our private equity company to teach them some more in-depth financial management tools. And so it's really important for us to just invest in our folks. When I first came to Seabreeze, our fleet was pretty dated. And in fact, within, I think it was the 8th day after I started, we had a blizzard. And as I was out driving around looking, checking in on everybody, I saw Bobcats out there with ball tires. I saw we had a lot of equipment issues. In fact, all but one of our trucks went down with some type of issue during a 24 to 30 hour event. And so I quickly realized that it was time for us to look at the fleet. I know I'm oversimplifying this a little bit, but it is kind of a math problem. If your overall maintenance costs for a particular vehicle start to exceed what a lease is, it becomes a no-brainer. I think though before you can get there, you need to start collecting different data, and you have to have a mechanism in place to track the amount of money that you're spending per vehicle. So that's what we did. We set about tracking different parts by bumper number, understanding what our highest contributed vehicles were, and then making a plan to start to cycle those out of our fleet and replace those with leased vehicles. We ended up doing a leased model. It made the most financial sense for us, and it's really paid dividends, to be honest. We've been able to smooth out our P&L, so it's been much more predictable now in terms of what our fleet maintenance costs are going to be. The morale of the company has gone up. It's definitely helped our brand to be driving around in nice new shiny vehicles. And it's allowed us to have pretty much our vehicles up all times. The white circle is something that I learned early on. In fact, I just graduated West Point, and I'm at the Engineer Officer Basic course out in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. In walks this very seasoned Chief Warrant Officer, and he just had this presence about him. And so I kind of sat up and said, all right, well, what's this guy all about? And he said, Lieutenant, I'm going to tell you a story that when you get out there, a lot of people are going to tell you that, this is just the Army way, or the way it's always been done. And I'm here to tell you that you need to challenge that. He said, when I was a new private, I had just finished basic training, and our job that day was to go out and paint the lines on a parking lot, on this newly paved parking lot that they did at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And so we got on there, we had our 5-gallon bucket of white paint, we're out there working, and lo and behold, someone knocks over the bucket on this beautifully paved out parking lot, and we're freaking out, like, what are we gonna do? And so we got the idea that we're gonna paint this into a big white circle in the middle of the parking lot. So we did that, we made it look as neat as we could. Packed up our brushes, got back on the truck, drove back, and a couple days later we shipped out to our units, and nobody was the wiser on what happened with this white circle. So he says, fast forward about 20 years, and I'm driving from Fort Benning, Georgia, up to Fort Drum, New York with my family. And we're passing through, through New Jersey, right by the Fort Dix exit. And I said, let me see, I want to show my family where I went to basic training. So this warrant officer says, there we are, we're driving in, I've got my kids and my family, I'm pointing out all the different places that I got my start in the Army, and there's a group of soldiers out there painting this white circle in the middle of the parking lot 20-something years later. No one had ever stopped to ask why the white circle was there, but by God, it must be there for a reason, and we're gonna make it look good. And I talk about an early lesson, I mean, that sunk in with me. And so I tell this story almost on day one about who I am and what I look for. And the organization as a whole, we kind of seek out white circles. What are we doing on a day-to-day basis that we're just doing out of repetition or habit? And maybe at one point it was the right thing to do, and now it's matured, and it's the circumstances have evolved, and it's no longer relevant. Maybe it's always been a bad habit, or maybe it's something that we're doing that we should continue to do, but we want to do everything on a day-to-day basis with intent. We want to understand why we're doing the things we do. We want to put thought into what we're doing and what we expect to get out of that, and we look to eliminate as many white circles as we can throughout the organization.